but they see me. Okay. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. And before we call the meeting to order, I need to read this statement. Okay. In accordance with Governor Lee Executive Order number 16, extended by Executive Order 34 regarding limited gatherings to prevent the further spread of COVID-19 and allowing public meetings to be held electronically, the Marshall County EMA Committee has chosen to meet electronically and limit public access to this meeting, determining it necessary to protect the public health and safety and welfare in light of COVID-19. I need a motion to accept that.
Commissioner Blackwell makes a motion.
Thank you. And
Commissioner Nichols second.
okay, thank you. Okay, any other discussion on that? Roll call vote, please.
Mickey,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy. Commissioner Blackwell.
Yes.
Commissioner Childress.
Yes.
Commissioner Nichols.
Yes.
Okay. The next thing that we need to do is he needs to call the roll. I probably should have called the roll first before he needs to call the roll who all is attending.
Commissioner Murphy.
Here.
Commissioner Blackwell.
Here.
Commissioner Childress.
Here.
Commissioner Nichols.
Here.
Commissioner King.
Here. Okay. We have all five present. Okay. We're going to move on to approval of the minutes.
I just have one correction, just the date. It says January 14th, 2019. And of course, it was this January, so it should say 20.
Okay.
Must have got a road copy. The rest of them say 20.
Rest of them say 20. It must have been a late copy.
Okay.
We'll get it fixed. We'll
Now-
make sure the official does.
Did somebody make a motion?
With that correction, make a motion to accept.
Okay. That's Ms. Childress makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second. Commissioner Nichols.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if there's no other corrections, we'll move on, proceed with the roll call vote.
Commissioner King.
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes.
Commissioner Blackwell.
Yes.
Commissioner Childress. Commissioner Childress.
Call my name. Yes.
Commissioner Nichols.
Yes.
Okay, the minutes pass, and we're going to move down to old business. Steve, I'm going to let you.
All right, sir. Thank you. The first thing I had was the moving of the planning officer position to non-exempt, which was on our last meeting. That has been accomplished. Thank you all and the budget committee and mayor and everybody that's worked on that. We did get that accomplished. So that is in the books now. Continue on? Or?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On item number 2, as I would still, it's your decision, but I would still encourage you to consider the filing of the proper paperwork and everything for fire service recognition due to the added benefits and protection that our paid staff and volunteers as well would get out of it. To give you a rundown on that, Tennessee has a $25,000 benefit. We are included in that. EMS, unfortunately, is not, because they're not considered by the state an essential service, and that needs to be changed, we all know. But on our part of it, the federal benefit currently pays For death, $365,670, and a disability educational benefit of $1,248 per month. Those covered are firefighters, law enforcement, EMS, and rescue squad providers. Does not include emergency management. And it's about a 50-page document if you would like to review it. But passing of this would put us in line with that benefit. What it would require would be the commission to recognize us as a fire suppression group department, and that we send a one-page application stating that we serve as an additional resource for the other departments within the county with manpower, apparatus, and equipment, a map showing the county as a territory, a $50 check, and a letter from the mayor saying that the commission has approved this. And then you renew it every 3 years. Again, it would not change a single thing that we do currently. It would just give some legitimacy to it and provide this benefit of $365,000 to our families of our people where they lose their lives in it. And it would also open up some other grants. But the biggest thing I'm looking at is that if these guys get out here on the side of the road and something bad should happen, it would give their families some benefit.
Steve, what would this cost us as a group again? Can you hit back over that?
The cost of it?
Yes.
It costs, it's the same thing all the fire departments have to do. It's $50 fee along with your application, and you have to renew it every 3 years.
So this is a federal program that insurance, more like insurance.
It's a federal death and disability benefit, but to have it, since we're obviously not law enforcement, not EMS providers, we don't have a county rescue squad. So the way to recognize us would be as a fire suppression unit as well. There's several emergency managements throughout the state that do that. And that way, by those guys being covered as firefighters, wherever the scene was, they would be able to get that benefit.
Does this mean that we would have to have a fire chief?
No, sir.
By statute?
No, sir. I mean, the only thing it would require is that, I guess, in my position, I would have to take that little 16-hour course, which I was planning on taking until it got canceled. But that would be the only thing we would have to do is I'd have to take that class, and it would not apply to being a county fire department in any sense of the word. It would just say that our organization is recognized as a fire suppression unit that is there to help the other departments.
But I thought under the NIFTA that any fire department had to have a chief officer.
Well, it would do that.
But
That would be in my
We
position.
could pass this.
It would only
I'm
be.
sorry.
It would only be for our group, for just the emergency management group. All the fire departments are already recognized in that.
In other words, like you're saying, is the chief of each fire department is what Tony is talking about.
Yes, they already have that.
And you would be recognized as the leader
For the
of your
emergency
group.
management, but not for any of the other fire departments.
Right.
So what that's going to do is make us have one chief in the county that's paid and nobody else that is. I'm afraid it just causes a lot more problems. I wish we could work on the volunteer program and do everything we can to make it better. Essentially, if we do this, we'll have one paid fire chief that's with EMA, but that's all.
Well, it would be as a part of my normal duties, or it wouldn't even have to be me for that part. It could be one of our other people, but my thing is just to try and get these guys this death benefit.
Well, I understand that, and they need to be covered. Because how many people do you have that aren't?
You, me,
2,
Valerie,
3, 4,
Phil,
5,
Angela, Sean,
Mark. Cord. The other boy down there, it's a dispatcher.
We're right at 10.
Right at 10, Tony.
Okay, so I get most of them are EMA volunteers then,
Yes,
aren't
yes.
they? Okay.
Well, it's a combination of the paid people and the volunteers, but it's the response group.
But those people you're talking about, none of them worked on any of the volunteer fire department.
Well, we were counting the ones that don't. There are some that do. I don't know as
So
far
they
as
would
the
be covered, right?
federal government on that, how they would look at it if they were responding as us and not as their independent fire department. They would probably say they were not covered. If that'd be the case, we were about 15 or so.
Well, if they're volunteer firefighters, wouldn't they be, regardless of what truck is on, be still responding as that?
Only if
Covered
it
under
were a
that?
county fire department. If somebody from South Marshall responds to the north end of the county as part of EMA, they are not responding
Yeah.
as a volunteer firefighter. They're responding
Okay.
as an EMA.
They'd only be covered if it was their department sent out to the call under the firefighter part.
Yeah, okay, I got you. That's where it'd be nice if we could go to a county fire department and everybody would be able to respond from, if a man's on the south end, on South Marshall's fire department, but there's a call at Farmington, he could go. I mean, I don't know if we can make that happen, but it would be nice.
Yes, sir. I agree with you. It would be. They're already having to respond into those territories, but a lot of times they're getting paged to them as their fire department as well. So
And once they're
Yeah.
paged, they are legally covered, right?
should be under their department that they're paged with. But in if you've got two neighboring departments, they're probably both being paged. But if it's an area that's in Farmington, they're not going to page 5 Points and South Marshall and Mooresville to go to those areas. And so, but they page us, and then when they respond as part of us, they would not have this
This
benefit.
also applies to NVCs and things as well. If they're paged as part of us, and they're not going to be paged as their fire department, if they're paged as part of us to I-65, if they get hit, they get nothing.
Now, what insurance do we have as far as the EMA, as far as our guys going out with y'all? I mean, do we have any kind of insurance that would help out?
On the volunteer firefighters,
Well, as far as your crew.
just the standard workers' comp. That's all. Just the policies that you have on all of your employees. And the volunteers that we have are the same as the firefighters in the county. You provide them with workers' comp insurance. And then there's a little BFIS disability policy. I don't remember what it is, but it's not a lot.
Should we at least pass this so we can look at the statute and make sure? Because I know it says for your fire department you have to have a chief officer. I think it would kill the entire county if tomorrow we have a paid fire chief at EMA and we don't have anywhere else. I know a lot of them don't have enough people, and they got to have some serious help. It's going to take a lot of work. I'd love to pull them together and then use EMA as what they're meant for, is for support, instead of having to respond.
If you'll give me just a second, I'm looking through the state statute on that, the TCA statute.
I've got it at home. I think the meeting before last, we were advised to stopped discussing it, so I wasn't prepared for it to come back up. I didn't look at the agenda early enough.
Nathan, you gonna start the class?
You guys, just looking over the statute, I see nothing that says you have to appoint a chief. I would think at some point you would, but it does say that you have to have background checks and you do employment means any membership. It just lists the different people that are considered fire personnel, but I don't see in what Commerce and Insurance sent me, I do not see anything that dictates that you have someone in that position. I may be wrong. But,
Okay.
you know,
Let me ask you this, Tony, you said, if our fire departments respond and then our EMA is asked for a backup or assistance, that's the same
Yes.
thing. They're
Same thing,
not,
we're still not covered.
they're still not covered
We would still
if they,
be out if we get hurt.
if they go on us.
Yeah, and I'd love to see them covered. I'm just afraid it's overnight. We're going to be in the fire business, whether we want to be or not, and we're kind of putting EMA in it and leaving everybody else out in the cold. I'd have to find that statute. It came out of NIFTA. It's been so long since I went through that class and stuff. I don't remember. But I know there's
I
in
can
part
give you what to
rules or
look up
something.
on it. It's TCA 68-102-303. Actually 68-102 and then 301 and following.
Yeah.
Is it something that we need Barbie to look at?
Well, it maybe wouldn't hurt to ask.
This is Roger. I would say yes, definitely, because we have to know what liability we might be buying there. Not with the insurance policies, but as someone mentioned, when we go into the fire business, what does the county, what are we buying when we do that?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And I don't mind y'all doing that, but they are already doing that work and have been for a long time. There's several calls, especially the daytime, that if our guys don't go, nobody's going. We had one last week. We had 9 people there. The department that was paged as basically the fire department had 0. And that's not their fault. They just don't have anybody in the daytime to go. Is the situation. And
Can you repeat that? It's breaking up real bad. You say there's other counties doing it?
oh yes, sir. There's several other counties that are doing it. And we
Do we
can
know
get you a
who
list
they
of
are?
those. Huh? I'm sorry.
Do we know which counties those are?
Dixon County
We can
does
get
it.
you a list
I
of
can get a
them.
list.
Dixon, I know, is one that does it to some extent, but we've got that paperwork. We can get you a list of them. That shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, it might help. It may be something else we need to show Barbie. Or to get her to look at.
I say my only concern is just that the guys are already doing the work, and I would hate for one of them to get hurt or hurt badly and not be able to get something, keep their families going.
Guys,
I would too. And,
let's
I'm out there and I see it. I see them responding.
let's do this.
Just want to make sure.
Let somebody make a motion that we send it to our attorney and let her look at it to see if, and let Steve get a list of all the counties that are actually doing it too. And I don't want to table it. I'd rather us let her look at it so we can, because it's been the same question, some of the same questions before, if that's all right.
I'll make a motion, Mick, that we send it to Barbie. And also, I'd say let's have a special call meeting where we can address only this, because you know, Steve made a good point. They're already on the front line, and they are putting themselves in danger. One of the things I would like them protected, but on another point, I think Roger hit on was we got to see what kind of liability we're sending these guys out here, and are we covered? So this may be something that we need to hold a special call meeting to get this addressed as far as on the legal aspect and as far as getting it addressed to solve this problem.
Okay, so you made that as a motion.
Yes, to more or less send it to Barbie and put up a special call meeting. Let Steve get that information, but so we can address this one issue as soon as possible.
Okay, that's Craig Blackwell made that motion. Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Tony Nichols?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Is there any more discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy,
Yes.
Commissioner Blackwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Childress,
Yes.
Commissioner Nichols.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, we're gonna move on to
Hey,
new.
Mickey,
Yes,
this is Roger.
yes, sir.
If you could, if you're not speaking, could you mute your phone? Not you, but I mean the other participants. Could you mute your phone? We're getting a lot of feedback here.
Okay. Okay, thank you, guys. Okay, we're gonna move on to new business. And, okay, Steve, I'm gonna let you.
Guys, this resolution to updating the rural fire matching funds policy, Miss Robin wrote this and sent it to me. She intends for it to go before the budget committee also tomorrow and hopefully be passed by the full commission at your commission meeting. You all should have a copy of it, but it's updating the resolution 96-5-4, which approved the matching funds. And basically, it's giving a 60-day window after the close of the fiscal year for them to meet the requirements to get the matching funds. I think last year there were 2 or 3 that it was slow, and I think the last department, you'd have to ask her to make sure, but I think it was like October or November before they got everything in so that she could cut them that check out of last year's budget. And so basically it's an update saying that whether they turn them into us or to the budget office, it's an update saying that the budget office has to have all the documentation by 60 days after close the fiscal year, or they will forfeit the matching funds. And you should all have a copy of it, I hope, there with the packet we sent out. And that's what she sent to me and asked me to bring up to this committee.
That was sort of the suggestion of the budget committee, and that lets her go ahead and close the books out for the year because it wasn't letting her close the books out. So we need a motion to accept that resolution.
I'll make that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Was that Tony Nichols?
I think me and Roger both did it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well,
I'll second this, Roger.
okay. Okay. Is there any other discussion? Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy,
Yes.
Commissioner Blackwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Childress,
I should have done this when you asked if there was any other things to say, but I also hope that this doesn't hurt the volunteer fire departments because they are so few of them there. But otherwise, I vote yes.
Okay,
Commissioner Nichols,
Yes.
okay. Motion passes 5-0. Okay,
Do you have number 2 on yours?
no,
Okay. I have a couple that I had to add late, in fact, today. One of them is on the FEMA public assistance reimbursement that we've been talking about since March of last year on the February of 2019 floods. We received a contract on that. And of course, as with most things with state or federal government, they want it back ASAP. The share that we're going to get, federal and state together, is $9,255.24. I have explained to them that we are now, unlike we have done at times in the past, that we have to have a resolution on that to go before not just this committee, but the budget committee, and then the full commission for the mayor to sign and for us to send up. They have told us they're in a hurry to close this out. They're working either 5 or 6 presidential declarations in Tennessee right now. But they have told us that they will put this on hold for us until July the 1st. That being said, it would have to pass through the budget committee next month and then be on June's agenda for the commission to accept. And it's simply anytime that you have a presidential declaration after all the year and a half of paperwork, you come up with this amount that they're going to give. And I can explain later why it was such a small amount, but nevertheless, that's what they're going to offer. But we have to have the contract signed by the mayor and sent back to them in order to receive that money. And again, it's $9,255.24. And it's FEMA PA FEMA 4427-99117-000. And it also has a DR in there that I left out, but that basically means it's a presidentially declared disaster. So we need to get a resolution from, I don't know if we'll meet again before that, so we need to get a resolution from this committee, and then I will have it on Robin's agenda for June so that it could be on the July commission or on the June commission meeting. And then as soon as we got that passed, we could get Mayor King to sign it, send it back, and get that money.
so before we can vote on it tonight, we would have to have a resolution in front of us, right? Or can we just vote to approve this
In the
money?
past, you have made a resolution and then we've drawn it up. Now that's,
you make
Okay.
a vote and then draw it up.
Okay, so we can go ahead and pass this tonight as a resolution to accept the money.
If they
from
think
the
the,
February 19 floods reimbursement.
I
Okay,
understand Robin, right, the resolution has to actually come out of the budget.
and then it would just go straight on to the budget to pass there and then go straight to the commission.
Yes.
So can I get somebody to
This
make,
Commissioner Blackwell approve that motion.
all right, Commissioner Blackwell made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I couldn't make out who made the second. Can I have that again?
Anna and Roger both did at the same time.
Okay. Anna made the second. Is there any more discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner King,
Just one, we
All right.
will have, I probably missed that, but the resolution will be written before it goes before the budget committee. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy,
Yes,
Commissioner Blackwell,
Yes,
Commissioner Childress,
Yes.
Commissioner Nichols.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes 5-0. Okay.
Okay, I have one other on a grant again. the HMEP grant, and you guys approved it, including the resolution on at our January the 14th meeting. Now, this just came in today, and I didn't have a chance to get a copy of it to you, but it's on the HMEP grant for this coming year. The amount $4,645.95 for funding of training, exercises, planning, management, administration, and equipment purchases allowable under the grant contract. And again, it would authorize, once it goes through you and budget committee, it would authorize, and commission, authorize the mayor to do that. We had the resolution for this when we did the one back in January, February for the HMEP grant. Robin at the time did not want to pass this one since we didn't have the contract yet. Well, the contract came in today. And again, that's going to make it the June budget committee meeting before I can get it there. It means it's going to be the end of the June before the commission can pass on it. Not seeing another meeting for us between now and then. It is a contract in the amount of $4,645.95. It does have a match, which is $700 some odd dollars, which is usually, it can be a soft match, and we usually meet that through our exercises, because the exercise and any expense put into it counts as a match, and any personnel time that's put into it that are not already paid by a grant. So it's usually a very easy match to make. It would buy the certain equipment that we've been approved on for training. It's a machine to create fog for hazardous materials training, a trailer for our training equipment, and one other
Very high-tech dummy.
Yes, a very, very, very high-tech mannequin for hazmat and rescue work. And it would purchase all that, and then we could probably do, it'll all be in our budget, but we could probably do that match through we can pay it out of another line in our budget, or else we can probably do most of it through a soft match. But anyway, we would need to pass that resolution. You as a committee have already passed it. I just wanted to bring it to your attention tonight that we will, if there's nothing anybody sees wrong with it, we'll be forwarding that on to the budget committee.
Okay, so we do
I
not.
don't think you need to, because if you look back at the minutes,
Pass 4-0.
yeah, it passed 4-0
Okay.
from y'all in January.
Okay,
So I think we're okay on that.
all right. Okay, moving on to other business, or did you have anything else?
No, sir, that was
Okay.
all under new business. Other business, this won't take but a few minutes, the Kenny Nelson Road, which you guys have already had to transfer the money, do a budget amendment for that in your last commission meeting. And it passed, I know it passed through budget unanimously. That work has been completed. We have received a bill. It wound up a little bit less than what we thought. We were asking $7,550. The bill actually came in at $7,419.25. And Robin already has that for them to pay, but the work is completed, and anybody would like to go up there and look at it, they did I think a good job on it. Actually, the resolution on it passed through budget. Mickey, you made the motion, Sheldon seconded it, and it passed 5-0. So that work has been completed. The report on the recreation center use, which again, going through budget, Miss Anna, you made the motion, Sheldon again seconded it, and it went through 5-0. That area for responders who simply didn't feel safe going home during this. It was used by one gentleman for about 3 days until we confirmed that he had not been exposed. Lewisburg Fire has gone out there and done a thorough cleaning of everything. If it's not used anymore, and we're ready to propose that we probably at this point close it down, because they're getting close to needing that area. Now I talked with John again today, because Bill had made that commitment before he retired from us. But John and them will get the UV lights out there then, and any of the rooms anybody has been in. We would sanitize them, pull down the plastic and the tape from some doors and some hallways, gather up our COTS equipment, and then it would be ready to go again. So that part should be a simple thing to get back to them. We just appreciate everybody working with us to get that open Didn't get the use we anticipated, but I know as Bill had put it to me, he said, when I have grown men coming to my office and crying because they're afraid to go home, and I'm proud we were able to make that available to them. The budget proposal, we got a very short time and everything else going on this year to work on it. I did submit a budget proposal before all this happened, or as it was happening, to the budget office. I am going to make a request to them, to budget whoever, to amend one of my lines, what I had put in on 317. I had lowered it from $1,500 to $1,000 because historically we just haven't needed it. It's what we pay for if somebody has to come work on a computer, internet, whatever, pay for the IT work. Sometime after turning in that proposal, and all departments are going to be pretty much this way, that line started receiving a charge every month from Mapletronics that we had not known about previously. It's for backups and everything on the emails. Amounts to $81 a month. I think we've had a few from another department put onto ours, but nevertheless, that charge was then made retroactive back to September of last year. That now has that line over budget a year for us, and I think several other departments. We have money in other lines where there can be some in-category amendments that it's not going to be an issue, but I do need to probably add that since that's $972 a year, I probably need to up that $1,000 back to $1,500 on that line item in order for us to be able to pay for it. I'm not sure that you guys need to do any action on it. It's just that I want you to be aware before we go to the budget hearing process that we're going to have to ask for that, for that reason. They, as my understanding, they run some type of antivirus and then a backup and something on all those new county emails. That's all I have on that one on reports. You guys can read on there, but the mitigation grant application on behalf of the County Board of Public Utilities, $409,000, is continuing to move forward, but at a very slow snail pace right now due to the fact that all hands at the state are on deck for the COVID-19 manpower demands. But it is moved forward. It's made it through a few of the steps up there, $409,000 that would be to get Tommy some generators set up that would be automatic generators at his pump stations. The application amount for $150,000 for Lewisburg Water and Wastewater did not get moved forward, basically due to their missing some deadlines on the proper paperwork filing is what we were told. So the county portion is moving forward. Don't know when we'll hear anything about it. Again, when it does, it's probably going to be our first knowledge will probably be here's your contract, get it signed and get it back. So we'll work on that as that happens. Hopefully we can get that money for him though.
Steve, before you go any further, today we had our water board meeting and Tommy had one of the pumping stations was down because we did not have electricity on. It's a phase deal, and one leg was dead. Everybody else had power, but we did not have power to our pump. And he started that at 3 o'clock, and this morning at 10 something, he still did not have power to that.
Yep.
And it was pulling another system down real bad to do that. So it would really make a big difference to
they when they first looked at the amount, they sort of said that's probably not going to fly. And then when they looked at the fact it was for a public utility, they said, well, that puts it in a different category. So they passed it on through to the next step because of that. I don't know when to tell you we may hear from it. Like I say, every single person up there is now working COVID responses, not in their normal places of expertise. So we'll see. Then I had on there the report on the February 19th flooding. I know those amounts. Every time we've met on it, it has fallen off from what we at first said. The decrease in the county amount that was originally anticipated, some documentation standards that we just could not get them what they had to have. Different ones didn't have it available. And then their determination that most of the cost to our highways during that was what they classify as deferred maintenance by their standards. If you had to go and put some coal mix in some potholes and stuff like that, they did not qualify that. You've got to basically show that you've got to dig out that section of road and redo it.
You have to,
Kevin's worked on that a ton,
So-
him and Angela both.
to get that pothole patching and things of that nature, the county road department has to have a maintenance of roads policy. And then they have to be able to go back and show records of maintenance on all of those roads for the past, I think it's 5 years. And they can't show those records, and they don't have that policy in place. So therefore it gets classified as deferred maintenance. In other words, if you can't prove your roads were in excellent shape before the flood, then you can't say the flood caused the damage. And that took out about $400,000.
And so that's where we're on that. That's the reason we come up with that $9,255 amount that we were talking about earlier on a motion to accept that. That lowers that amount down quite a bit. I was going to talk about proposed spending of these funds, but you have already done the Kenny Nelson Road thing. That's my mind where the chunk of it should probably have went. But it looks like now it'll be next budget year before we receive that money anyway. So that's something we can talk about that time. But what I had in mind was paying that expense, maybe paying Jerry for that load of sand, and what was left to buy some oil dry and absorbents for some hazmat spills. But like I say, it will be next year before now that becomes a part of it anyway. The only other things I had on your agenda, the response report, you guys should have that from, I've updated actually through today, and it's raised that 77 responses up to 83 by our special operations group this year. And again, you'll see what they're going to there. Other than MVCs, there's 8 brush fires, 7 vehicle fires, 5 structure fires, an illegal burn, 2 fire alarms. So it's highly fire oriented. What our guys are going out on, but you can look over those responses. If you have any questions, be glad to answer those. We also had something we sent out to you on our COVID-19 response, just to give you a snapshot of what we're doing and what's going on. If you have any questions about that, we'll be glad to answer them. You'll see that we have distributed, just our office, almost 8,100 items of personal protective equipment. That's been some of it have been homemade masks that some ladies have sewn for us. Some of it has been some items that some local industry donated to us. And then, of course, the vast majority of it has come to us through TEMA. We put in orders every week. We get usually about half of what we've ordered. And that's where that is. And I also have a list of every single item that we have issued to everybody. We have been able to help out the courthouse some. We've been able to help out the mayor with some things here. Most of it they had bought. We've been able to help out with the schools some and different things. But they tell us up front, the priority on this is going to be number 1, healthcare providers, number 2, responders, number 3, your doctor's offices and clinics, which we've been able to get quite a bit for them. But you can see with that that we put in there a little bit about what we have done, as well as running our normal duties of our office and the shelter and some weather emergencies that came along in the middle of it. It's been a pretty busy time for us. I also put in there a state sit rep on COVID-19. Now, this was as of last Tuesday. It has changed quite a bit, but that will give you a little bit of some information as far as when we're questioned is what's the state doing. This will give you some answers to what the state's doing. And you can look at these maps and also see when you look at the overall rise in cases and just look at that graph, you'll think, well, we're not seeing that flattening of the curve they're talking about. But if you look at the number of active cases throughout the state, you'll see that we have most definitely since May the 4th been able to flatten that curve. And then it gives you just a lot of graphs as far as numbers of active cases versus recovered, or positives versus recovered. That was really moving in the right direction until, again, that weekend. And that's where they've done so much testing in our correctional facilities, in our skilled nursing facilities, and then again now really making the push in our public housing areas. And so we know the numbers are going to rise because of that. We're still we are the best in the southern United States as far as percentage of tests. But along with that, you're going to have higher numbers. We're holding around 5% of those tested are positive, which is good. Our numbers, just for your information from today, and Mayor, I don't know if you've gotten that yet or not, but we dropped from 27 back down to 26, which was obviously another addressing problem that they had found, and that's happening as we go along. We currently have 5 active cases within the county that we know of, and that's out of almost 900 that have been tested. So we think we're doing pretty good on that. There's another grant they sort of wanted me to talk to you about tonight. Guys, I've looked at it. It's a COVID-19 supplement to the EMPG funding. I have looked at it. I have read pretty much these 37 pages. I just don't see at this time, with the deadlines they've put on it, how we're going to be able to qualify for much of that. There would be some fudging on NIMS things and such, but it's almost $2 billion the state's getting for it. We don't know how much of that the state's going to use because they've spent millions and millions on this. So we don't know how much is going to be available to locals anyway. If anybody's interested in it, get with me. I'll get you a copy of it you can read. As far as, again, PDA, they're not going to hold our feet to the fire on meeting our county thresholds. They've gotten something figured out on that. The state's going to qualify. It's going to be under a presidential directive. And again, there are things that we could get back off of that. What equipment purchases we've had. The biggest thing I see is Brandon and his guys, the time they've had to put in and the equipment they've had to buy and the things for shields. But again, to get the documentation where it would need to be and the work that it would be for what's been spent, I just don't hardly see it happening. I mean, this $9,000 took 15 months of work for 2 people and 2.5 at times. And this would be, I think, a lot less number than that probably. But again, we can talk with the mayor and things and see if we want to do that. That's all I have, other than I have something that I wrote up that I would like to read to you guys. Sometimes I can read it easier than I can put it into my own words. But considering this time of what we've gone through, and simply that there are many departments and people within our county government, such as our EMS, our sheriff's department, our county building maintenance, Mayor Kenny and his office, and others that I know, some that I'm leaving out, that have had to step up and put themselves on the front line during this pandemic, not to mention a lot of hard hours. I simply would like to make mention of both my staff, both paid and volunteer, and their actions during this time. I could not be prouder of a group of people. The response guys of our special operations group have stated to us that they knew we needed to limit our exposure in order to keep the EOC operating at an efficient level with limited personnel. And what they told us, and I quote, is, "Don't worry, we've got this." And they have had. Kevin and I and Angela, we haven't made near the responses we normally do. And they have had it, and they've done a good job. Along with the virus have come 3 major weather events that have required EOC activation and all hands on deck, a lot of communications, dispatch assistance to 911, coordination with multiple agencies, including utilities, highways, road departments, fire, law enforcement. With this has come some major road clearing activities, mostly late at night. I think one night we cleared 68 trees across roads, and then 40 something the next night, maybe, from 2 different storms. The paid staff has had to change their schedules, put in a lot of extra hours for which they do receive comp time, cancel scheduled vacation and time off plans, and just be here no matter what the risk of contracting this virus and carrying it home to their families. They've had to enact that which we train for all the time, but in a very different circumstance and ways that they never imagined possible. And they've, through all of this, responded with a level of fear, but a commitment to do their job. They've accomplished their goals using less than optimum technology sometimes for hotlines, conference calls, records administration and such, but we've made it through it. As you can see from our report, from our COVID-19, our personal protective equipment distribution report, they've been extremely busy and engaged since the onset. Some of the calls that we have been on were with people at levels of government that we, conference calls and things, I think the mayor would agree with, that we never dreamed would ever happen. The work has been intense and nonstop. Much of the effort has been accomplished with volunteer labor. We've had teachers, animal welfare people to help man hotlines. We've had a school nurse to help with the Red Cross, where we had to do screening of our non-congregate evacuated shelter victims from the storm that had to be put up for a few days from the roof collapse at the Mansard House. Some of the major players in the EOC from our group, and I'm sure I'll leave some out, but Kevin McCord, Sean Hawkins, and Drew Harris did time with us. But most of all, those volunteers I want to mention to you, and some of you will know this young man, Chris Tuning. Chris has put in 40 hours a week plus with us every week since March the 23rd. He was laid off from his job on March the 20th. He became a regular part of our staff on the 23rd, and today he went back to work. But other than that, he has been with us, not just responsive, but if we're there at work, he's been there at work. And just so proud of the job he's done. They've done everything from highly technical work to logistics to setting and out in the breezeway and mixing and bottling spray disinfectant, bottling hand sanitizer, and being delivery personnel. As I stated earlier, they have really, really stepped up to the plate. And in my opinion, whatever that's worth, they have all hit a home run in looking out for the needs of our citizens. It's what we train, plan, and warn about all the time. We all do pandemic planning, but we've never dreamed of having to do it at the level we have. And this being isolated from our neighboring counties that normally work so closely with us because they've been dealing with the same things. We especially did not expect to have to do these things in this manner against an enemy that we can't see like we can the usual instance in natural disasters. Again, I'm so very proud of both paid and volunteer personnel, but especially Mr. Tuning, who has voluntarily given his all in our efforts, including being the one person who had to isolate himself all by himself with no interaction with other people for a few days until certainty could be reached that he had not been exposed to a patient. Besides myself and our staff, of course, Kevin, Valerie, Angela, but then Chris, Kevin McCord, Sean Hawkins, Mark Hawkins, Matt Fox, Eric Kinnear, Colton Sharp, Daniel Foster, and Drew Harris. I just wish there was something we could do or some way recognize their efforts during this, because they have been extraordinary. If y'all will notice also, our old buddy Phil's name was not on that. And we want prayers for him too. He seems to be doing fine now. But at the onset of this, I told him he's a PRN worker as needed. And I said, Phil, I've got some volunteers that can do this with your age, and he has blood pressure issues and such. I said, why don't you think about just taking care of yourself and staying home? He said, I'm going to do that. In that time frame, he had been having some back issues, and he went and had some scans run and had a very large tumor on one of his kidneys. So he has had that kidney removed. Today was his first day back actually working with us. He thinks he's doing great. Of course, they haven't done any more scans yet, but again, it's a very scary time for him going through that. But I just wanted to add that as a way of letting you guys know that I just couldn't be prouder of a group of people. And if there's ever anything we can do in a public manner, that would be a thank you to them. That they have definitely earned it. So, Chairman, that's all I've got.
I'm going to address that just a little bit. My hopes is let's let some things hopefully settle down, and maybe we can do something for not just EMA, but everybody in the county, and let's do something big for them. My idea.
I did have one other thing. I think I sent y'all the fuel report for last month, and you can. It's self-explanatory. Y'all can look at it again. I give both Mayor Kenny and Robin both a copy of it every month. I will bring up, I don't know how we need to go about this, the Vanessa K free training, which is a part of those requirements that they show you they've had the training. It's also a state requirement. Now that's not going to go away. But those who did not get it done early, the opportunity for them to get that training done by the end of June is probably not going to happen. There is a Tennessee Fire training online that you can do a course on, but a lot of those guys do not have access to a computer or internet, and neither do their departments. And if nothing else, the 10 or more people in a group right now, Kevin and Matt and myself were going to become instructors, but that got canceled too. So right now you have John Reese and Larry Sands who can teach that. And even if we could put the class on, there's nowhere we can put them all and have proper distancing and no more than 10 in a group. Now, you could go around to each individual department, and with the exception of one or two, you could probably do that. I'm not sure we could talk those guys into going to 6, 7, 8 different places on different nights to teach it. So that's just something for you and the budget committee and everybody to think about. Is I just don't see a way possible that some of them are going to be able to get that training done by the end of June. Now later on in the year, they need to, because the state's going to demand it anyway, they need to get that done. Some of them, I know John did 5 points back in November, I think, so he's good until November of next year. But for some of them, they're not going to have it, and taking up for them, I just don't see any way possible for them to get it done in the time frame we're talking about. Now, their fuel receipts, their rosters, their driver's license, all those other things, yes, they can do that. I just don't see where they're going to be able to do the Vanessa K free training in that time frame.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything that they want to bring up?
Hey, Steve,
Yes, sir.
but I don't know if they can do it or not, but we can do that Vanessa K free, the training, we can do it online because we do ours through post. But is there anything for the firefighters and stuff that they offer it?
I don't
online
know.
training?
I don't know of anything TFAC offers. There is a Tennessee Fire Training Online.com that is approved by the state. It's the one we use every year. It's a much better class. It's a much tougher class than the one TARS does.
Yeah.
But a lot of them don't have access to where they have computers and internet to do that. And then the TARS classes,
okay.
they don't offer anything online to begin with. So that the actual Vanessa K free training is just not out there unless you come to the class. So I'm not sure.
Okay.
It's just something I think everybody needs to consider, and whether it be something passed through budget or whatever. I mean,
we'll look at it.
that's going to be hard for them to do that. It really is.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have anything they want to say?
Steve, I just want to say, this is Commissioner Blackwell. Just wanted to say that during this last storm, I've seen some of the guys on the road working hard, and along with each and every one else that go out and take themselves away from their families to help other families. I really do appreciate it, and like I say, they do a wonderful job, and just so proud of each and every one of you. So just let you guys know that I think I can say them, but the commissioners, that we're about 110%.
I always tell them that make sure your family in your home's okay, and then head on out. Now I will say that last storm, we thought it was that way, and then a lot of us wound up out on, especially wasn't Buddy Jones, was it? But it was right in that area. We had a huge tree across the road, and there was some very scary lightning going on while we were out there cutting that tree
Got
up.
hit by a few branches.
Yeah, we got hit by a few branches that were still falling from some of the trees. It was, I don't know, 10, 11 o'clock at night. I couldn't see. But anyway, thank you, and I will definitely pass that along. They really, chainsaws were flying everywhere, but some of them department chainsaws, some of them are chainsaws, some of them bring their own from home. And It's not pretty when they get through with it. It's still piled up for Jerry and his guys on the side of the road, but at least the roads will be passable when possible. We had a few that he had to have some guys out. Wesley did the next day or two with some backhoes and stuff. There were some huge trees that came down.
Okay. Anyone else?
Hey, Mickey, can I add one thing?
Yes.
A little closer. I know Steve bragged on a lot of people, but I really want to brag on EMA, the leadership over there. And as an EMA committee, you ought to be awfully proud of what they've actually been able to do. As I've told you in previous emails that we've sent out weekly or tried to during the peak of all this, EMA and the health department were our lead agencies on this locally, and both were just absolutely superb. They still are. I can't say enough good things about them. I can remember my first call to Steve on a Monday morning in early March saying, okay, we've got to come up with a plan on this, or what are we going to do? And by Friday, we had the hospital, we had schools, we had all our first responders here, and we pretty much hit the ground running from that point on. And we really haven't slowed down, I guess, in the 10 weeks since then. People say, well, what does everybody do in this? Trust me, we've had daily conference calls for the longest between all of our municipalities in the county, as well as the schools and other health department and lots of other. We've even started including Greg Lowe and Emily Darnell from Economic and Community Development as well to get their perspectives on things. We backed off on that a little bit as this thing has gone along. But trust me, there were days that Steve or Kevin and myself were talking back and forth 5-6 times a day on different issues. And trust me, they were there and they answered the calls, as did the health department. So as Mickey said, we've already had some discussions of doing some things in a grander scale for a lot of folks, because there's a lot of folks that have really stepped up to the plate in this, and it hasn't been easy, and it's been a lot of long days, a lot of struggles. But since I'm talking to the EMA committee tonight, just like I talked to a couple of local groups last week, I can't say enough good things about our EMA and our health department. And if you ever get a chance to brag on those folks, you need to do so, because, and I said all along, people have you questions, you need to call EMA, you need to call the health department. They've got the answers. And I promise you, throughout this whole event, and it's not over yet. Trust me, we're still, we hadn't just said, okay, close the book on it and put it on the shelf. We're still doing things, but they have been there every step of the way and top notch. And I know a lot of counties that can brag on theirs just the same, but I wouldn't trade ours right now for anybody in the world, because they've done a lot of great things for Marshall County these last 10 weeks. So I just tell you that as the committee that we have a really, really, really good EMA set up here in the county.
Thank you, Mayor. I would also add, I am so thankful that I'm no longer active. I'm still licensed, but I'm thankful I'm not on that ambulance anymore at this point. I can't imagine I know when AIDS first came about, the HIV virus, what we felt like, this has got to be that on steroids for them. Also, if any of you know of anybody, please help us pass the word. We're trying to get out. Miss Francis has lost several of her volunteers that do the Meals on Wheels for seniors, and she is in desperate need of some people to do deliveries. It takes about an hour a day to do it. So
plus they're going to start their drive up, and she needs some help with that.
She needs some help with that too. So she's in need of some help for an hour or so a day, Monday through Friday, and they really need some help.
Okay. That's sort of it for tonight. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Tony Nichols makes a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, got a second? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy,
Yes.
Commissioner Blackwell, Commissioner Blackwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Childress,
Yes.
Commissioner Nichols.
Yes.
Okay. Thank everybody for
I'll just say that's an hour. I think that's record for us.
But that's pretty good. Y'all have a good night and be safe.
Thank you, Steve, Kevin.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Thank you.
Oh.